Kristen Welker here. Do you think the Democrats would actually hire Greg Gutfeld to host a Democratic debate? They wouldn't do it. And so the fact of the matter is, Kristen, I'm going to use this time because this is actually about you in the media and the corrupt media establishment. Ask you, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that you pushed on this network for years, was that real or was that Hillary Clinton made up disinformation? Answer the question. Go.
Mr. Ross.
Sorry.
Several of those people on that stage are just auditioning for their next TV contracts, and Vivek is one of those.
That Ramaswamy is a symptom of something else. The weakness of the rest of them. In old times, he'd be gone because he was a clown.
The problem is, he's so annoying.
Now, I'm beginning to think the media is kind of starting to warm up to him. Joining us now, the aforementioned Vivek Ramaswamy. Oh, Vivek, they're after you. Vivek, for people who missed it, this was the moment that really sent everyone into the stratosphere.
She made fun of me for actually joining TikTok while her own daughter was actually using the app for a long time. So you might want to take care of your family first.
Leave my daughter out of your voice.
Couldn't you have made that point without invoking her daughter?
Well, look, I think actually the point is not a criticism of her daughter, Laura. It was a criticism of Nikki Haley, because I am also on TikTok. The point I've made is that we as Republican primary voters and Republican leaders need to reach the next generation. So the fact of the matter is Nikki Haley often talks about a new generation of leadership. The problem is she's on the wrong side of that generational divide with an astounding lack of self-awareness, criticizing other people for not looking after their kids or their families for use of social media or TikTok, when in fact, that is a gaping hole that does deserve and bear and merit mention. And I also don't want to hear somebody like Nikki Haley get on a high horse. You know, she uses her poll-tested talking points with respect to Hunter Biden all the time. So if you can't handle the heat, I think you stay out of the kitchen. She's called me 4-letter words in each of the last 2 debates. I can handle it. But if you can't dish it, then you can dish it. You better be willing to take it. That's what I say. This is a presidential contest. And if you want to sit across the table from Xi Jinping, you better have a spine and get ready to roll.
Yeah, she called you scum. I'm not sure anyone would get away with calling some. Maybe Trump would. I don't know. It was uncomfortable for people to watch. But I get your point. But then this new national poll, Washington Post Ipsos, came out of likely voters, Vivek, who watched the debate. They found that you came off more negatively than most. Your reaction to that?
Well, I mean, I was criticizing everybody 360 degrees on the stage. I want accountability for the chair of the RNC. I was the only one who on that stage called for what I think we require: new leadership at the RNC. Ronna McDaniel took over in 2017. 2018, 2020, 2022, 2023, losses or losing of our expectations. Is that a positive fact? No, it's not, Laura, but the underlying reality is not positive. So I'm not going to put a positive sheen on something that requires accountability.
Yeah.
And the same thing with respect to NBC News or the other candidates on that stage. So when we require making an actual observation where the underlying truth is negative, I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Ronna McDaniel responded to your comments today. Watch.
He's at 4%. He needs a headline. I'm going to say what I've been saying to Republicans all along. Our headline should be about Joe Biden, but I also will stand by my record as RNC chair. Now, the RNC doesn't do state races. We're a federal committee, so we weren't involved in those races on Tuesday. I know Vivek's kind of newer to the party. He voted for Obama, so he may not know that. I've been elected 4 times, unlike somebody else who came after me last night.
She's been elected 4 times. Vivek, what's your response to that?
Well, first of all, I find the outright lying ridiculous. I've never voted for Obama in my life. So for a chair of the RNC to be saying that on national television is malpractice. As it was also malpractice for her, as the press reported last night. She's supposedly cheering and booing against me in the middle of a debate. Think about that as a chair of the RNC and saying that they won't be giving me another penny of their money. She almost proves my point about the corruption. It's not her money. And that's the way the people in this party have thought about this for a long time. They think it belongs to them. It doesn't. It belongs to the voters, the actual base that we're supposed to serve. And when you have a managerial class, a swamp within the Republican Party that has lost its way so badly, longing to go back to an older era of establishment quasi-corruption, yes, we require new leaders who will lead this party forward. That requires people coming from the outside and from the next generation. That's why I'm in this, Laura. And I think that that's what's going to be required to revive the Republican Party and to revive this country. And if you look at that debate stage last night, it's a good example of even the moderator selection to the comments that she made afterward that prove my point.
Yeah, the National Review editorial board, it's establishment outfit, but they accused you of pandering to the isolationist-inclined populists of your party and claims that all you want is a future media gig. Do you want a future media gig, Vivek?
I don't. I think what I want is to revive this country. And fact of the matter is, that's a long-winded way, a very National Review-esque way of saying that I am giving the GOP primary voters and the people of this country what they actually want, rather than Dick Cheney 2.0, which is crawling all over that debate stage last night. The reality is we are fighting foreign wars in places like Ukraine that have not advanced the American interest, and I don't want to see Iraq 2.0 or Afghanistan 2.0 with $7 trillion added to our national debt and thousands of people my age that were sent to die, America's sons and daughters, in wars that didn't advance the American interest.
Well, why don't you think that is the ideological divide in the GOP. If your view is so popular, well, obviously Trump's the big dog in the pen, but why are you not doing better in the polls?
I think there are two solid America First candidates in this race. That's Donald Trump and myself. And the voters face a choice. In Donald Trump's case, they get somebody who's tried and true, and he was a good president. That's why he's doing so well in the polls. I have something that he doesn't. I have fresh legs. I'm young, and my belief is it will take somebody from the next generation to reach the next generation and revive national pride, and I'm new. So I think, Laura, we're going to be very successful heading into the Iowa caucus and otherwise, but I'm going to keep speaking the truth, be unvarnished and unconstrained about it. I think that's what our voter base wants, rather than doing these poll-tested slogans to try to, solve for what the establishment media or the donor class wants me to say.
All right, Vivek.
It doesn't work that way with me, and I think that's what our base wants.
Now, with all these 3-inch heel comments, I hope there's no Halloween, costume from years ago of you in heels, okay? Because that would really send everybody into the orbit, okay? So thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.